All right, we are live, guys. Hi, and welcome to. Thank you for your patience, by the way. We're just getting some technical difficulties this morning. Welcome to the OFP webinar on carbon financing for community resilience in Africa. I'm Kate. I'm communications manager at Open Forest Protocol, and I'm very excited to introduce some of our projects today. So I'll let them do all the talking. As you can see, we have some amazing guests on board. So first, I'll introduce Lily. Actually, Lily, go for it. Introduce yourself, and if you could also tell us a bit about Open Force, what we do.
Of course. So I am the Africa Regional Coordinator. Basically, what that means is I help scale the protocol across the African continent, and it's an honor to be here. So just to tell you what we do about the amazing work we do at Open First Protocol, we know that in recent years, traditional carbon markets have been criticized for being exclusive and opaque. We know that small to mid-sized range projects, especially from developing countries, have often struggled to access this carbon market, and they have been concerned about the quality of some of these credits. And so the team at Open Forest Protocol has been addressing these criticisms. And how we've been doing that is, first of all, OFP is the ideal solution for making carbon markets more inclusive and transparent as well. The key pillars that the foundation has been built on is scalability, affordability, inclusivity, transparency, and accessibility. So how do we do this? Is that we empower projects of all sizes and across all regions to be able to access carbon accreditation. This is evident in the diversity of the projects that have been listed on our Ecosystem Explorer, which range from just a portion of a hectare to many thousands of hectares globally. The protocol enables the highest quality ground truth MRV. So MRV stands for measuring, reporting, and verification, and uses a one-of-a-kind consensus process. What this means is that we use a unique approach to carbon validation that brings together multiple perspectives and carbon experts. We're talking about experts from carbon science to drone technology to AI. So this approach ascertains that the high quality credits issued from the different projects that we work with are the most transparent and highly verified in the market. And we deliver this resulting data-backed assets directly to off-taker markets. And one of the things that makes me so excited about each of the projects that has joined us today is that each of them has a compelling story of inclusion designed to have a lasting impact to the communities that they serve. And it's an honor for us as Open First Protocol to be allies with them. And before I hand it over back to you, Kate, for those that are listening in, thank you for joining us. To learn more about Open Forest Protocol and how you can get involved, please reach out to us, contact us on the contact form on the website, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kate.
Hi, guys. Sorry, I might have bugged out there. My Wi-Fi connection a little bit rocky today, so I apologize. But yeah, thank you so much, Lily, and I love all of us to introduce themselves now. So Rob, how about you go first, and then we can go to Iwi, Bird, and
Sure. Hi, everybody. Firstly, I want to thank Open Forest Protocol for the opportunity to be a part of this webinar and this discussion. And I'm very grateful to meet some of the other project leaders around the world and Africa in particular. I'm the founder and managing director of Kisampa Conservancy, which is a community conservation project in the village of Matakwili, adjacent to Sadani National Park in coastal Tanzania, East Africa. We're managing 3,000 hectares, so roughly 6,000 acres on behalf of Matakwili community. It's a conservation project rather than a or afforestation project. Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Rob. Rocket, do you want to go next? Just tell the people your story and the amazing work you've been doing across Mali.
Sure, Lilian. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Rogiatu Traore. I'm from Mali, and I'm a green entrepreneur, and I'm the executive director of Aero Alliance, a company that develops an inclusive value chain around agroforestry products such as moringa for economic, environmental, and social impacts in Mali. So basically, we are developing an inclusive value chain around moringa for now, in order to address the rapid progression of deforestation in Mali, women poverty in rural areas, and also malnutrition. So our ambition by 2030 is to empower 15,000 women and young farmers to plant 10 million trees, high trees with a high value that can be processed into edible products to address the malnutrition and uh, poverty of women and young farmers in rural areas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bonner, do you want to go next and share your story?
Hello, everybody. Hi, Lokatu. I think we met in Rwanda sometimes.
Yeah.
Of Land Accelerator. So how are you?
Well,
So
happy to see you here.
yeah, I'm Bernard Muchiri. I work for Horizon Business Ventures. It's a company that is work with forest adjacent community, and the main activity is processing of forest-based essential oils. Uh, we we work somewhere between Aberdares, a forest area in Kenya, and the biggest forest, Mount Kenya, and our responsibility is basically to motivate the communities around the forest to both to conserve and domesticate trees on their farms. We specifically deal with the native trees. Most of the landscape, especially the settled area, in the settlement areas, they have subjected the indigenous tree to genetic erosion. So there is not much, but the remaining indigenous trees are in the forest. But most of the trees in the landscape have been logged. So we encourage them to both conserve whatever is in the forest and uh, to plant the trees on farm, or to plant back the trees on farm, which basically has been replaced with exotic species. We have a lofty plan to plant 4 million native trees in the farming landscapes, and we think this is achievable because all these trees that we are planting have an element of commercial properties without having to cut the tree. So there is a lot of there's a lot of excitement around the domestication of these trees on the farm. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bernard, for that insightful story. Iwi, this over to you now.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm called Eri Lama, and I am from Limbe, Cameroon. I am an environmental and climate justice advocate and was recognized as UN Global Climate Ambassador last year at COP27. I am also the director of Voices for Forest Alliance, a community-based organization that works with women and youth on gender, land rights, indigenous rights, and landscape restoration. So for the past few years, say since 2017, we've been working with women in one of the forest remnant communities in Cameroon, known as the Bimbia Bonadikombo Community Forest, where we've worked with women to build their capacities on landscape restoration by helping them to establish nurseries and also plant trees in their farmlands and also in degraded parts of the forest. So far, we've been able to plant trees around water catchment areas, reaching close to 20,000 hectares of land. We also plant trees along the streets and the greater communities around Cameroon, using very creative acts like football, mobilizing youth through football to plant trees, engaging young people in climate change parades to plant trees, and building women's capacities on climate leadership, empowering them how to have their own nurseries and plant their own trees. And what we do about our trees is we introduce to them economic trees and fruit trees that help them to grow their forests and as well have a source of income and livelihoods where they are able to sell some of the fruits or produce from these trees and have their own farms, have their own money raised from the sales of these products. So this we've worked with over 5,000 women and with close to 2,000 young people in these communities, and we've reached out to 164 communities across different regions in Cameroon. And our target is to continue to restore degraded land in Cameroon and to empower rural women more so that they can have positions at climate decision making platforms and tables, and also be entrepreneurial fit and able to contribute to household income in their communities. Presently, we've been given over 20 hectares of land to plant, to restore trees, to restore by one of the community leads in one of the communities we are working in. And this is really an amazing aspect for us because we have started demarcating the land and identifying the kind of trees to be planted within this portion of land. A lot has been going on in the past few months, and we see more women gaining interest in what we are doing, and it really makes us excited to know that we can be able to have this population of people who are interested to take action from the grassroots levels. Thank you very much.
That's amazing. Thank you all so much for your introductions. Everyone got introduced, right? Okay. Perfect. The next question then to kick off the official part of the webinar is, what does resilience look like for your community, and how does carbon financing contribute to that vision? And I'd love to hear from everybody in terms of that topic. So we can start with Rob again and then just go down the line if that works for everybody.
Thanks, Kate. So for rural Tanzanian communities, and I'm sure it's similar in other parts of Africa as well, unsustainable exploitation of natural resources is a huge challenge. And it's mostly because people are poor and desperate, so they have little choice. So resilience really means a bunch of different things. Firstly, it means robust community governance, robust and consistent community governance. So having people who are heavily invested emotionally in their communities and the sustainable resources that their communities have, and making sure that governance is consistent over time, so it doesn't change when governments change. The next component is really very strong awareness of environmental issues. So this takes a lot of work from various people and organizations to ensure that all levels of society within those communities understand the impacts of unsustainable exploitation and the potential benefits of sustainable exploitation or sustainable practices in terms of their natural resources. The other piece that's incredibly important, and Amy probably alluded to this, is giving people economic opportunity. Without that economic opportunity, there's no security of income. And then people are unable to make decent choices about their own futures and their own communities. So those are critical. And lastly, and this is where Open Forest Protocol has been so helpful, is having the tools to measure the progress within a community. And Open Forest Protocol has been instrumental and a game changer for our project, and I'm sure for other projects, to be able to put those tools within reach of community members, often community members with limited education, limited resources, but it's such a simple process to be able to measure, validate, and have verified their own resources. And that's the starting point to demonstrating value for those resources. So I think those are the key things for resilience.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Bernard, would you like to go next?
Yeah, from our perspective, it's, our community basically comprise of smallholder farmers whose economic mainstay is agriculture. Therefore, the resilience, the community, the resilient the community is dependent on the ability to embrace climate smart agriculture practices and other livelihood systems that are not vulnerable to climate change. We believe that a tree-based livelihood system that is less vulnerable to the changing climate will not only provide income benefits, it will also provide for landscape resilience, but also strong social connection that ensure people are mentally, physically, and emotionally able to endure and recover. We have consistently demonstrated that a tree-based system will produce fruits or nuts even during prolonged drought period, and this provide a stopgap, a very critical stopgap for this community to recover, both to recover and ensure that they continue in their normal working life without major disruption. The area that we work with experience even droughts for a whole year, and food security is a very big problem. But when we discovered that a tree-based system can actually support livelihoods, there is a lot of excitement, both in protecting the trees that are standing, protecting the forest where these trees are, and even domesticating or even bringing the trees to their farm. And this tree basically previously existed in this farm, but they have been subjected to logging. So we see our intervention as a very critical and strategic strategy to develop a climate resilient community. Thank you.
Amazing. Rokioti, would you like to go next?
I think resilience is what qualifies women and young farmers in Mali, because every year we have 3 months of rainy season, and the rest of the year farmers usually don't know what to do, especially women. Most of them cut trees for to get some incomes in order to feed the family. Others go to mining activities. So all these activities are harmful for the environment, but they don't have really alternatives. They don't really see alternatives. So resilient, they are very resilient because they always look for solutions to be able to feed the family. So when I hear carbon, I hear hope for them. It's a way also of giving women and young farmers new ways of maximizing the wood they have, instead of cutting them, and when they know that they are going to have financial benefits by keeping the trees, by planting more trees, by taking care of these trees. That's also a hope. That's hope for them. That's also a way of addressing deforestation, a way of addressing desertification, and in a nutshell, climate change as well. So yeah, thank you.
That's beautiful.
That's
And
beautiful.
Ellie, of course.
And Ellie, first.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
I
Bye.
think This goes even across Cameroon. In our communities, we focus on three main areas, and that is education, policy, and empowerment. So we educate the communities, especially the women and young people that we work with, on the value of trees, the importance of planting trees, and why they need to take action now and not wait for tomorrow. We also try to educate them on the different species of trees that exist and how they can collaborate to make sure that these species are not lost over time. We've had workshops with women where we just had to talk about the different species of trees, and they told us the kind of trees that are already disappearing in their forests. And we worked with them to see how these trees could be restored by reintroducing it into their forest. And in the course of policies, when we identify some of these, the importance of the forest within these communities, and we have convinced the women, especially to understand that this is what has to be done, the policies that govern the management of forests, community forests, landscapes, and that we have gone to different government offices with women to lobby for certain policies and certain actions to be taken in the management of their community forests. And the final thing is empowering them. We're empowering them by giving them economic tree species that they can be able to plant in their forests, establish huge nurseries. We've established over 30 nurseries in these communities with women and planted thousands of trees in their degraded forests, because we realized that working with women was a more sustainable way of working, because they are more emotional, and they carry a lot of passion towards taking certain actions, because they think more about what happens to my son if I don't do this, what happens to my daughter if I don't do this. So we've invested most of our resources in them, and we think uh, being gender concerned in landscape restoration is a form of building resilience towards a sustainable climate action in our communities.
Thank you all so much. Those were amazing responses. And I think it really painted this picture of the power of carbon financing, especially for small communities and for large projects. As you know, we have thousands of hectares represented here today, which is amazing. So my next question is about how we all got here. How did you all find OFP, and how is OFP helping this vision come to light? What part can we play to help this journey onward for every community? And so I'd love to hear from everybody about that. And then of course your vision for the future will be the final question, but I'll get to that later. So yeah, Rob, you can kick us off again if you like.
Through a university volunteer who has been helping us at Kisampa for a period of time. So big shout out to Imani Wilson from Bangor University, who made our project, made us aware of OFP. Once I started reading and looking at the website, it was like the lights came on for us, because we had been looking at carbon, the issue around carbon and how we would address it as a small community project. We'd approached larger organizations that at that stage, it was untenable for us, because the entry cost, feasibility cost for consultants was just beyond the budget that we had for our project. So Open Forest Protocol basically opened the door for us and our community. So we were very grateful that OFP took us on board very early on. And we've been working with them over the last 24 months to understand the process, helping as part of the beta testing team for the actual applications and the systems that everybody uses now. and getting to the stage where we've just completed a very extensive first validation project of our forest cover and started to input that into OFP. So it's been a really exciting ride for us, and that's basically how we got involved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rob. Bernard, I'd love to hear from you next about your journey with OFP.
Yeah, basically, our project goal is to plant 4 million trees, and this is not easy. And we have, in doing this, we have two objectives. One is to restore the landscape and reintroduce the lost native trees. And native trees, people are not really familiar with native trees. They just see trees in the forest. So it's not really a very easy thing to convince people to bring back. Second, we know that as a business, our sustainability will come from adequate sourcing of raw materials, and this will come from the native trees. We might not be in the future depend so much on what is in the forest, but we know that we can depend so much with what is on the farms, because farmers are getting something out of it. By aligning with OFP business model, it helps us to regularize and fast track what we have already started, domestication of native trees on farm. Another aspect is that OFP provide another motivation, carbon credit, for farmers to actively engage not only in new tree planting exercise, but preservation of existing forests and tree population. So it is another motivation. You have given us another motivation for farmers to actually accelerate the domestication process and preservation of what already exists. And lastly, OFP will ensure that there is sufficient future sourcing of raw materials necessary for the growth and sustainability of our business model. The more we plant, the more we strengthen our sustainability in the business model. And this all contributes to a goal of basically landscape restoration in the long term. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Bernard. Rokitu, you're up.
Hi, Rocket. Oh, sorry to cut you off. We're having issues hearing you clearly.
That's because my sorry. Can you hear me now?
It's still cutting off a little.
Maybe I'll speak after Melody.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Kate, do you want to address the question?
Okay, still no. Okay.
No.
Sorry.
You want to try logging out and log back in?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
In the meantime, we can move on to Ewi if you want to go.
Okay. Thank you very much again. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you. So, meeting with OFP for me, anytime I think about it, it was a joy. It was something that happened to me unexpected. Uh, I remember being part of the Global Landscape Forum meeting where we had the conversation and we had talks about the remote sensing, GIS, and all of that. And I was thinking, like, okay, my organization needs to step into this because we've been planting a lot of trees, we've been engaging a lot of communities, and there is no way we've been able to keep track of what we have been doing so far. So this fateful day, Lillian reached out and she was like, okay, we got your details on the restore profile, and then we were like, okay, let's reconnect. Let's connect and see how we can work together with you if you're ready to do that. And it was a dream come true for me because it was like this came in at the time when I needed it, when the organization most needed it. Immediately after I had the call with Lillian, I rushed to my team and informed them of what we had, and they were really excited. We had several calls, and we've been working on developing uh, KML maps for the different areas that we have actually been planting trees in, and the areas where we are still working on planting trees. I'm still struggling with the technology and trying to deal with it, but I'm loving it because it's helping me to grow. And I really, I believe this is a platform that is really going to be able to build our skills towards that aspect. In Cameroon, it's not a very common aspect where we get to take those maps of areas that are being restored. We just go ahead doing the restoration without thinking or without even counting the land space we are covering. And I think this is a really great initiative. And for me, we are still at the end of learning and we want to learn more so that by the time we are meeting in another meeting like this, we'll be able to talk about how much progress we've been able to cover from the day we met until the time we will be having those conversations. Thank you very much again. I'm so excited to be part of the team and to grow gently towards the major goal of mapping landscapes and getting all of these maps, digitalizing landscape restoration and conservation. It's really a great honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ewi. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's try Rokyotu again. I'll unmute you and we'll see how you do.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Lily, how does it sound on your end?
Very murky. It's
a bit choppy.
It's not very clear. Rocket, do you want to try to jump off and then on again?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Hopefully she'll be able to jump back in. And the final question I have for everybody is, what is your vision for a green future with OFP and with the momentum that your projects all have moving forward? We'd love to paint us a picture of what this looks like a year, 5 years from now. and we'll just we'll hear all the visions for the future while she rejoins. So Rob, I'd love to hear it.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Perfect.
Okay.
Do you want to give her the opportunity to answer that question before we go on to this one, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I was saying that it's actually OPF that found us. That was through the Land Accelerator Champions kickoff in Rwanda. So I was lucky enough to be one of the Land Accelerator champions in Africa. So we had some pitch sessions, and it's after that that I received the message, the email from Lillian, surprisingly, and when we had the first discussion, I was really amazed by the OPF and all the opportunities, because I work with women and young farmers in Mali. And the problem with women and young farmers is that they don't really access the land. And when they access the land, it's sometimes small portions. It's like 1.5, 1 hectares, 2 hectares, sometimes 5 hectares, maximum 10 hectares. But with OPF, they have the opportunity to do their restoration, even if they're on the 1.5 hectares, and be able to maximize the carbon. And that's really something amazing that I'm not even sure I can find it somewhere else. So that's really amazing. And also with the technical assistance that's behind the program, it's really an amazing opportunity. And I really look forward to today to dive into it, and also be able to empower more women and young farmers through the OPF. Thank you.
Perfect. We heard you perfectly. So thank you. That was amazing. Wonderful. You missed the next question, but the last question is what is the vision of each project for the future, and what do you see a year, 5 years from now with OFP and with their communities? So we'll start with Rob, and then we'll go around the table again.
Thanks, Kate. So I guess our smallest stretch goal is not to slip backwards, to make sure that we build on the momentum that we've already started. Ideally, that means full conservation of the area that we're managing, and then the next step for us is to really engage our neighbours who are subsistence agricultural farmers growing food crops and some cash crops, engage them in an onion ringing around our particular project, and get them to understand the value of a sustainable use of their resources and an income generating use of their resources over time, and introduce them to OFP. And of course, beyond our own geographic barrier, introducing other people that we think are like-minded that might get a benefit from OFP, so that we get an explosion of projects, and that we can actually spread the joy across many communities across both our continent and other continents. So that would be the vision for the future from our perspective.
I can see it. I can completely see it. Thank you so much. Bernard, would you like to go next?
OFP is carbon financing simplified, and we believe that within the next 1 year would have made huge impacts in terms of the restoration of the lost trees in the farming landscape. And we want to be recognized as as pioneer and drivers of this momentum, and OFP will be a big part of it. And basically, I would say that you be the one who will be telling us to stop. It is not that we'll be lacking farmers to actually engage or embrace this concept of commercial native trees restoration. And we believe that that tangible benefits, socio-economic and environmental, will be realized, and everything will be attributed to this OFP model, because as I've said in the past, uh, we saw it as a very big solution. We have engaged for some time with other carbon model, but we have not really even done anything tangible. And for OFP we have been engaged with actually this year, and then we are seeing that we are even uploading KML for some farmers. When we were going around today trying to get some KML, I mean, we were even labeled as labeled as carbon guys, because people are really asking, can we get involved? So it means there is huge potential, both in terms of diversifying livelihoods and in restoration the degraded landscape using this model. So we want to be recognized from this perspective that we started and we are not going to stop for a long, long time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think yeah, we'll have to tell you to stop. It's official. Because I don't see the momentum slowing down. Amazing, amazing. Roku 2, you're next.
Okay, can you all hear me now? Okay, perfect. Okay, we are a growing company. We've started just in 2021, and we've just 600 trees. In 2022, we've extended to 20,000 trees. And this year, in 2023, we are up to 100,000 trees. And our ambition is to really go to 10 million trees by 2030, and really wish to reach this goal with OPF, and also be able to empower over 15,000 women, and also increase the nutrition, the food security, and also the nutritional diet, in not only in Mali but in all Africa. That's our vision.
That is ambitious and I love it. And we'll see it happen. I love it. All right, Ewi, just certainly not least but last, bring us home.
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the things we want with OFP is trainings. We want capacity building. We want to be able to build our capacity and be trained so much that we are able to be to reach more women and more communities in the next 5 years. We want to have something to show within those 5 years that we've been able to move from zero to this particular number working with OFP. And we also want to see about, if only if that is not fully covered, at least we want to see that we've been able to reach over 100,000 trees planted in communities around Cameroon. And with OFP, we want to have opportunities to partner with people like Rob, like Rukietu, like Bernard, and see how to push the agendas successfully towards implementation within our communities. They've gone ahead of us with what they are already doing, and we want to copy from their examples, and we need their expertise to help us to get to where we can be able to go to. It is new for us in Cameroon, and we want to be that come to organization in Cameroon where people can actually say, okay, this organization was empowered by OFP, and they are able to spread their wings across the national territory because of that particular empowerment. So that is what we want to gain with OFP in the next few years.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you all so much. It looks like we do have about 2 questions, and we have a little bit of time. So one question is specifically from Molly. The question was, is there a cost to the trees? and how are they selected for biodiversity? If we'd like to answer that, Rukutu, I think this one's for you.
Okay. The person is asking the cost of the trees. Usually the trees it's from the seed. Sometimes you just all you have to do is just to plant the seed and then you have the tree. So so it's the cost is maybe the action, also taking action, having the good seed and also having an area where to plant it. If I can say so.
It makes for a simple solution, simple and effective. Wonderful. Thank you. Just had to get that by you. And then another question, this is, I think, for the larger group, whoever wants to speak on it. How easily could the concept of MRV, so measurement, reporting, and verification, being applied into your project be understood by the organization that you guys are leading? And how long did it take to get the community on board and for everybody to really get on the concept and understand it and be able to run with it? Because MRV is not a common term for anybody. You say MRV, people are like, what is MRV? So yeah, that's a very interesting question. So I'd love to hear that perspective from anyone who wants to begin.
Maybe I'll happily start. I think so. Interestingly enough, at the grassroots level, I don't think it's that important to use the term MRV. What's more important is for the community or the people involved in the project or understanding, or the stakeholders in any of these projects, is just to understand the value chain of maintaining their natural resources and rehabilitating their natural resources. So the terminology is not that important. So once they understand that value from our perspective and in our experience, it's actually really good, really easy to get them involved in understanding the machinery required to actually do the measuring and the reporting. Lemmy brings up an interesting point in that, you know, it's actually pretty simple. We managed to teach people who have literally only got a primary school education. The OFP applications and platform has been proven to work for people who have limited IT skills, limited literacy. It is literally that simple. So teaching people the methods of actually doing the measuring and the reporting is not a complicated process once they understand it, and it's very, very structured and very, very easy to follow, which is important from a verification perspective. So I applaud OFP on getting it so easy for a community to do. There is some oversight, and that does take a little bit of understanding of IT, but it's not insurmountable, and even a dinosaur like me can kind of get my head around it. So the terminology, again, is not that important. I think it's more just the process and the value to the community or the stakeholders that's important. And once they are empowered, to use a term that Lemmy uses, I think they're away. They totally understand the process.
Can I add to Rob? Okay,
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. I just wanted to take back, I just recalled one of my stories that happened in the month of August when we were having a climate leadership workshop with women. And through one of the skills, trying to use the Google Earth map to identify the areas where land has been degraded, which I had this exercise with Lillian for a couple of weeks. I decided to present this with the women because since I work with women in rural communities, and like Rob said, most of them they understand better and learn better with visuals. And I decided to project this map on the screen, and from the Google Emma, we're able to spot within their community forest where degradation was occurring at its peak and where palm plantations were taking over at the center of the community forest. And when we did that identification with the women, I didn't know how to go further, but it was something exciting for me. So when we did that identification with the women, it helped us in developing a gender action plan, which contributions came from these women in the development of that plan. And one of the actions that they brought up was a clear boundary for their community forest should be defined. And that was exciting because through those visuals, they were able to pick out some of the content, what the reality that they will not be able to see for years, because many of them will not go to the center of the forest to see what is happening there. But those visuals were able to help. So when working with these communities, it's important to initiate visuals, and OFP is actually bringing the big things, making it very simple for rural communities to align with and to be able to go in line with. And I think that's something that really has to go across communities so that they should be familiar with technology and the use of remote sensing and GIS in identifying their own problems and bringing their own solutions to these problems.
Wonderful. Those are great answers. And that was, yeah, well, actually I just learned so much on that question because I did not know any of that reality on the ground either. Coming from the tech side, it can be hard, especially for developers, to see that. So that was really vital information. If anyone has anything else to add to that, I'd love to hear anything from anybody else as well. Or if it's been thoroughly answered, that's also perfectly fine. Wonderful. Okay, well, it looks like we're about at time. So thank you all so much for being on this webinar. This was incredible to hear your stories. Incredible to have the conversation. It is recorded, folks. So this will be on our YouTube for eternity. And we will create more content in the future. But yes, thank you all so much for coming. If there are any questions that were unanswered, we'll answer them in the comments. And yeah, have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Have a great week,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.